Hi everyone, welcome. This is the pre-webinar presentation. The webinar will start shortly. In the meantime, please introduce yourself in the chat window, where you are from, what do you do, and what you are expecting from this session. Thank you, Lata ma'am, for getting us started. To everyone who's just joining, we'll begin shortly. In the meantime, please feel free to go to the chat box, introduce yourself, and let us know where you are from, what do you do, and what you are expecting from this session. Welcome everyone. We'll get started. Learning and exposure for teachers and educators has been the inspiration behind webinars. You can go through the different webinars and learning paths conducted on our portal. The link to the same will be posted in the chat window soon. We believe that your time is valuable and we want to acknowledge your presence in this session, and will also be providing our participants with a certificate of attendance. This is made available to participants who attend the entire session. We'll share more details on how to fill the feedback form and access the certificate towards the end of the webinar. You can join us either Zoom or on YouTube. The YouTube live link will be pasted in the chat box shortly. Now I will be taking you to have an engaging and productive session. First, we have the mic button. You can click this to keep yourself muted. Unmute only the speaker asks you to. Next, you have the video button. You can switch on and off your video with this. You can share questions and thoughts in the chat window. You can also share your questions through the question and answer feature. I will be here to curate your questions and share them with our speaker. Participants who are joining us on YouTube can share their comments in the comments section that will be shared with the speaker on Zoom. We now come to the introduction of our speaker. I'm really sorry. Give me 1 second. Is everybody able to view my screen?
Yes, Shraddha.
Okay. Apologies, I think we're facing some technical issue. Just give me a second and we'll continue.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for the interruption. As we all know, I think technology is super unpredictable. I'll be taking over. Um, as we engage with this webinar, we request you to ask any questions you have on the chat. Please keep your video on. In case you face bandwidth issue, feel free to keep it off. If Binoy does have any questions, you can respond on the chat or unmute yourself and answer the question as well. Throughout this webinar, we'll also engage with different polls, and we would love it if you could answer them and show your for any questions and comments, please do interact with us via chat. Now coming to the next part, I am super thrilled to introduce Binoy. Binoy is one second, sorry. Binoy has been a part of our Teach for India family for a while now. He currently leads the Y Ultimate organization. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Inika, could you move the presentation?
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Binoy is the co-founder of Y Ultimate, and we are super thrilled to introduce him here. Binoy, please take us through how Frisbee is a great way to nurture different values in our students. We are thrilled to hear from you. Over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me here. It's like an absolute pleasure. So we're just gonna share screen and we'll just start off. First of all, like a huge thanks to Teach for India and Firki team for inviting us here. So yeah, over the next hour, I'm gonna talk about a little bit of my experiences with sport education and value education through sport primarily. And more than a researcher, I am a practitioner. So a lot of the things come from experience and opinions. And I would love to hear a different viewpoint around it as well. And we can have that space during, the chat at the end over the Q&A. But feel free to use the chat. Whatever thoughts you have, just feel free to put it in chat. It can be the YouTube chat or the Zoom chat, and the questions that are there, we'll try to address as much of it as possible. All right. Great. So let me just, start with a question. So do you remember the last time you went to a police station? Anybody here who went to a police station, if you could raise your hand, that could help. No? Okay, fine. Fair. All of you are teachers. That's cool. Most of you are teachers. Oh, great. Hi, ma'am. I saw you're from Hyderabad. So for me, right, my
Yeah.
experience
So I went to the police station just for the sake of that passport verification when they're coming, etc., etc.
all right. Yeah, good experience. I think it was a positive experience. Yeah. So for me, it was 2018. It was October, one early morning in Delhi. It was just like any other day. And I came out to a public park to work out with a bunch of kids here. And just before our usual Frisbee game, we used to have a workout. And I just started running around there, and I looked to the side and my bag got stolen, right? And it had literally everything. my phone, my wallet, house keys, all my ID cards, debit cards. And after this huge dramatic series of events, in a couple of hours, my team of kids convinced the people behind the theft to return my belongings while I was waiting in a police station for help. And when I met the three people behind the theft in person, that shocked me, right? Three kids about 15 years old who just wanted money to buy solution, like a popular intoxicant in Delhi. And the police officers there treated them with a sense of familiarity. They were accused in many other cases, including house break-ins and carjackings. And sadly, these young ones didn't have any other means to generate revenue at that point, that they resorted to theft with their peers. And this is not an isolated incident. And these data points show you how big this problem really is. And if we go deeper into these problems, at the root of this lies the lack of socio-emotional skills, the lack of life skills, or 21st century skills, as we call it. And it is to solve for this problem that we at Y Ultimate are on a mission to impart life skills education in children, especially those from lesser privileged socioeconomic backgrounds, through the sport of Ultimate Frisbee. And before I proceed, I just want to know from you, do you know about Ultimate Frisbee? Mansi, if you can put the poll up, that would be helpful just for me to get an idea. Mansi, can you? Yeah.
Yes, the poll is
Thank
live.
you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice. We have about 60% poll. I'm just gonna wait maybe another 10 more seconds. If you haven't polled, you can just press whichever option and then can go ahead. Mansi, I think it's fine. We can close it. Great. Can we share the results also?
Yes, it must be showing now.
Okay, awesome. So given I'm first of all very happy that there are 5 people who know Ultimate Frisbee. Very glad. But given there are a lot of people who do not know Ultimate Frisbee, what we are going to do is we are going to watch a video, right? In this video, we can stop sharing the results now, Mansi. Okay. In this video, you're going to see the game. There could be an audio issue because of the screen sharing. So I would request you to just try to watch what you see, try to observe, and then we will talk about it after this. All right. So, and also the video is in English. It's an American who is having a voiceover. So there might be an issue with the accent, but it's okay. It's fine. We are still going to go through it together after it. Yeah.
A game of Ultimate is played by 2 teams on a rectangular field with 2 end zones. Points start with both teams standing in their end zones. To start, one team throws the disc from their end zone to the other team. The receiving team, white, will try to pass the disc all the way down the field and catch it in the opposite end zone. Each player has 10 seconds to throw upon completion. You'll notice that players with the disc cannot run with it. After they catch the disc, they must immediately slow down to a stop, where they must set a pivot foot and pass to a teammate. The defense, the black team, has forced an incomplete throw and will now have a turn on offense. Since white threw an incompletion, they now switch to defense. Teams can transition from offense to defense multiple times over the course of a single point. There is no time limit. Teams may score in a single throw or as many as needed. Ultimate is a non-contact sport. Fouls are called when a player is obstructed from throwing or catching the disc because of physical contact by the defender. In this case, the thrower was hit on the arm, resulting in an incompletion. Since a foul occurred, the thrower will get the disc again, starting fresh with 10 seconds to throw. Here, the defender has just blocked a throw, and once again, white is on offense. Blocks, interceptions, catching the disc out of bounds, and the thrower holding the disc for more than 10 seconds are the 4 ways that turnovers can occur, and possession of the disc switches. Here, 2 players leap for the disc, and the defender in black was able to block it. Ultimate is a very athletic team sport. Not only are players running up and down the field, but they are sprinting, jumping, diving, and cutting at full speed. Ultimate helps players achieve aerobic capacities as well as explosive athleticism. Teamwork is also an important aspect for Ultimate, as everybody can be part of any play at any time. Black is now working the disc up the field. White is playing person-to-person defense, the most common defense in Ultimate, although zones can be used. Black now makes a long throw that is caught in the end zone, resulting in a goal. They have won the point, and a new point will now start with Black throwing the disc off to the white team, who will receive and play offense to start. Games can be played to a certain score or timed. Games can be played from 2 players to 2 players up to 7 against 7, depending on the number of participants and available space. The only equipment needed is a disc.
Awesome. Thank you. So we are gonna hear from you what you understood. So we have 2 ways to go about it. So there are 5 people who said that they knew Ultimate Frisbee. If you got to know something new about Ultimate Frisbee, you can share. Otherwise, you're gonna give the other people a chance. Those who didn't know anything about Ultimate Frisbee, you can either put in chat whatever you understood through the video, or you can just raise your hands. Mansi, I'll need help with picking people, and then we can hear from you, and then we'll go ahead. Okay, thank you, Radha ma'am. Yeah, it is a non-contact sport played between 2 teams. Good. Anything else? Yeah, anything that you saw in the video? Okay, even 2 people can play this game. Okay, it seemed like a recreational game. Fair? Yeah, we'll definitely share the video once again, Arima ma'am. I think we can add it as an extra resource on the FIRKI portal after the session. Yeah, goal is to pass the frisbee and put the frisbee into the goal. It is to catch the frisbee inside the goal. And yeah, jumping, sprinting, diving, building aerobic capacity is something that's there. A lot of coordination and alertness required. That's great. The person who has frisbee can't move. Teamwork and coordination is required. Great. I'm very happy to hear this, all these responses. If anybody wants to, talk about it, want to unmute and talk, you can just raise hands, and we can do that as well. Right? If there is any point that somebody hasn't talked about so far, you can also put that in chat. I'm gonna give it 30 more seconds before we move. Okay. Yeah, Surya, can you explain a little more? You can explain a little more on chat. Yes, Dasharath Singh, please go ahead.
Yeah, namaste.
Namaste.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Namaste.
No,
Yeah, I
sir.
used to work for Spark P. We have been tied up with them. Like FitKit was a company, like almost it is in Bangalore, but it is closed now. So there we used to have a trainer who was from America. Like he used to teach us, and we used to play the game like almost like it's like football, like 11 to 12. Like used to have a team of almost 15 50 to 60. So we used to divide the team like 11 players or like 10 players. And we used to have a goalpost of football. We used to play in football court.
Got it. Got it. So you used to play a version of it that's called Goaltimate. Yeah. Thank you, Dashrath, for sharing. Right. Cool. So I'm gonna just go through it once again and just talk about the large points once again so that we are all on the same page. It's nice that a lot of you are talking about you cannot run with the Frisbee. That's great. That's one of the points. So Ultimate Frisbee is played on a rectangular field, which has two end zones on either sides, right? And if you basically catch in these end zones, so the area that you see as gray, that's the end zone. That's the scoring area. You catch in it, you get a score. And the actual field is a 100-meter long field with a 37-meter width field, but most of us might not have that space. So we can use the same ratio and make a smaller field size for us to run our sessions. And the basics of the game is this from a rule point of view, that it's a 7-on-7 sport. So it's usually a 7v7 on a 100-meter by 37-meter field. There are rolling substitution, which means after every point, you can replace everybody who played that point with a new set of people. And you have 10 seconds to hold on to the disc. In these 10 seconds, if you don't make a pass, you lose possession, which means the other team gets the disc. And as most of you rightly pointed out, no running with the disc, which means you get the disc, then you stop, and then you have to throw. You cannot run with the disc. And you do a combination of this, and you catch inside the goal, the end zone, you get a goal. There are a lot more finer rules. I'm not going to the depth of rules because this is not an Ultimate Frisbee class, but it is what do we do with Ultimate Frisbee webinar. So actually, Ultimate Frisbee is more than a recreational sport. It is an International Olympic Committee recognized sport, which is non-contact. It is self-refereed, played in a team format, and mainly in the mixed gender division. So this is what the sport essentially is. International Olympic Committee recognized non-contact, self-referee team sport played in a mixed gender format with a frisbee or a flying disc. And all you need is 8 cones and a frisbee, right? And the most beautiful part about this is what comes next. It's this aspect called spirit of the game. So what this means is that because it is self-refereed, there are spaces where you uphold that aspect of self-refereeing. At the end of each game, this is something you can't see in other games, where both teams are going to come together, sit down, and have a conversation about the game. You are going to resolve your unresolved conflicts, give feedback to each other, appreciate each other, and then you move on. And these things all together makes it a really potent sport to build life skills. And through our last 8 years of experience on ground, we have put together this theory of change, which we call it our playbook, the Y Ultimate playbook. And it has 3 interventions. So the first aspect of it, the 3 interventions are practicing, playing, and coaching. So when you start practicing, when you create spaces for young people to just practice this game, it leads to the improvement in physical well-being and exposure to new habits and values. Like it's a whole new thing for you to learn. How does self-refereeing work? How do you manage that space? And this entire thing, in their experience, nudges them to start investing in their self-development, because they start getting small pieces of self confidence, that they enjoy the game. There you can see improvement that's happening, and that pushes them to invest more in themselves. And after you keep practicing, we keep enabling spaces for them to play with each other. And playing competitively, first of all, expands their social network and awareness by you getting to know a completely different set of people through playing. And when you play, we know whenever we play something, we either win or lose. Winning kind of reinforces the discipline that how we have worked, we need to continue putting that work. While losing builds that resilience. How do I fight back? How do I come back from this loss? How do I pick myself up and not accept that defeat? And overall, this combination helps them to develop a more rooted commitment towards their meaningful goals on and off the field. So it could be something as small as, oh, I want to throw the disc longer, to, okay, I want to do like wake up on time from now on so that I will come to practice. I'll put in more effort. So these small things are what they understand and they make commitments to. And once a young person goes through these cycles of practicing and playing multiple times, they build their competency to coach. So when they build their competency to coach, they start coaching Ultimate to other children. This first improves their technical game skills. So that's one of the incentives why these people who play go and coach, so that you get, like we all know, when you teach something, we kind of learn that even better. And so you get that opportunity. Then when you are working with another set of people, you develop your empathy, your communication skills, your technical skills, skills that can be used in any professional space later on, right? And along with it, you get income, and that income helps you fuel your aspiration, whatever that aspiration be. And this paid forward model where the beneficiary then grows up to finally become the coach to support the next set of beneficiary. This paid forward model kind of brings in a huge multiplier effect in the way we work. And this cycle, when repeated multiple times, helps them to develop their life skills and become job ready. And not just job ready, but also once you get the job, how do you thrive in that job? Because teamwork comes naturally to you. You can collaborate, you can resolve conflicts easily, you regulate your emotions much better. So the foundational aspect of how we work is through this playbook. And this comes to life in 3 programs that we run in Delhi. So the first is our life skill program that we run in the community and schools. In communities, we run it after school hours. In schools, we run it during school hours through the week, that we conduct sessions through Ultimate Frisbee. And we then organize events for them to play with each other. People who come up through this program also have that incentive to come to our third program, which is GK MAD. It is a club team that we have been building over the years that has been competing in the national championship. They're currently second ranked club in the country, and that also builds that aspiration for young people to continue working hard to get a spot there. There are around 5 of them who have been selected at various times to represent the country at the international stage as well. And along with all this, we have our fourth vertical where we are always open to support individuals, organizations who are interested to do work with Ultimate Frisbee and create social impact. Whatever learnings we have, we share that and create a program in any way. Like it could be a curriculum support, or it could be coach training. It could be just design of tournaments and the program overall. So that's what we do overall as Y Ultimate. Right. And actually, like, I started off with saying, sharing one of my personal stories. And like the reason why I got everything back that day is because the 3 who stole the bag from me that day, they were and we were able to retrieve it just because all 3 of them were people who our children knew. They all grew up together in the same place and just took 2 different paths. And like there are two people that deeply inspire me, who I want to share about. Um, and for you to also understand how Ultimate Frisbee can make a change. So this is Manjeet. In 2016, he started playing with us. And at that time, he had dropped out of school and he had made regular visits to the police station with his friends. Once he started playing, he got so hooked onto the sport that it motivated him to get away from that peer group, and he built a completely new peer group, which is his teammates from the team. And now he doesn't leave them. And he also decided that when his peers are going to school and he's not in school, that is not going well. And he himself enrolled himself in the open schooling, the NIOS, to continue education and finish education. And in that process, he became a great player with the effort he was putting in. And along with that, he decided to continue working with children by becoming a coach. So he became Manjeet Bhaiya for a lot of these kids. And in 2022, he also transitioned out from us for a brief time to work with Decathlon as a part-time employee. And meanwhile, he was also managing our entire accounts, so that he can learn computing and accounting. And in 2023, he joined back with us to become a full-time coach and a community manager of our first community we started with. And right now, he continues his education. He's in college right now, while also running a program for the community with over 40 kids at this point. And the kind of resilience that he has shown, and the place where he digs down deeper and come back stronger, by taking in experiences from the game, has something that has deeply inspired me. And another person that I would like to share is Megha. Yeah, about 8 years back, at the age of 10, like there was this small shy girl that came into a program where she had to just fight so much just to be on the field, and like just to play with the boys in a mixed gender format, which was such a huge challenge. And from there, when she was on the field, there was so much happiness that she had, and so much happiness and freedom that she got. And that motivated her to work really hard. And that discipline to train and get better led to her getting selected to the Indian national team in 2019, went to Shanghai, got the bronze medal at the age of 15. So that was one of the best finishes of Indian team on grass at that time. And after winning bronze, he then also got selected to captain the Indian under-20 team in Sweden in 2020. But due to COVID, that did not happen. But she continued to captain our club team. So now she leads the club team, and she finished school. And she is a phenomenal player. If you play Ultimate Frisbee, it's really fun to watch her. Like, I used to think she's the small, cute person that you should let go of, but very hardworking, and that shows on field. Does a lot of amazing things that I can't dream to think, dream to do of. And along with this, she has also become one of our coaches, who coaches the next set of children. And when people now call the 10-year-old that Didi, you are old, right? And also she finished school. She was running track also on the side. That got her into Miranda House. So right now she's studying in Delhi University. She's in her second year, pursuing English honors. And at the same time, she's a coach with us, and working part-time coach with us, and also managing our social media at Y Ultimate. So there are these stories that really push us to continue doing this, and for us to believe in what we are doing. And them being part of this process to work with next children is what keeps us going. And our experience working with these young people over the years have helped us to learn and codify two main things, which I wanted to share with you today in this webinar, which is how do we approach conflict resolution and self-refereeing? All right. So, I mean, I spoke quite a bit. So, before we start off, I would like to hear from you. You can put it in chat or you can raise your hands and share. As an educator or as a facilitator of a learning space in front of you, what do students do usually when there is a conflict between them? Yeah, you can feel free to raise your hand and then we can unmute and you can share a particular experience if that's there, or you can just put it in chat. What happens usually? Okay, they try to blame or give reasons. Okay, I see them fight, get physical after an argument if there is no adult interference. Yeah.
Binoy, Radha ma'am has raised her hand.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so either they indulge in violence or it simmers inside and manifests itself somewhere else, sometimes at home. This anger, it comes out in other forms at other places when they're not able to express that immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing. Subbalakshmi ma'am has said if there is no policing, they gain self-discipline, self-assess, and take the responsibility of agency in their problem solving. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Great. So there could be a different ways conflict could happen. So the next question is to all of you, that as an educator, what do you do at this time? When there is a conflict between children, what do you do? What do you try to do? And it's okay if we fall short some places or we are not able to do anything. But whatever it is, if you could share, that would be really helpful. Yeah. Thank you, Manjulata ma'am. Okay. Yeah, Pallavi. Yeah, Pallavi ma'am. Please go ahead. Please share.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. So when there has some conflict between the students in our school, we have a grievances committee. Yeah.
Okay.
Where the committee members sit together, students they express themselves. So we try to find out what went wrong and we resolve.
Okay. Sorry, ma'am. I couldn't hear parts of it. I don't know whether it was my internet. Can you kindly repeat, ma'am? Mansi, Inka Shraddha, in case you heard it, if you could echo it, that would be helpful.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Couldn't hear you.
I think the connection on her end was slightly off.
Okay.
I also could not hear the question.
Okay.
But there are different responses on the chat as well, Binoy.
Right. Yeah. As elders, we urge to look at the issue from another perspective. Okay. Observe and see if they're attempting to solve using the right approach. Okay. Or else we involve the student council under teacher guidance. All right. Great.
Binoy, Lata ma'am has also
Oh,
raised
lovely. Yeah, Lata ma'am, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So in our school, we have a policy where, we have an agreement, ki hands are for helping. So it's not for offense. It is for,
Mhm.
if it has to be raised, it has to be raised to help one another. So the first time when a child comes to us, we try to instill that in them and we remind them, what are hands for. So then we try to listen to both the parties. We hear them out and then we ask them, is fighting a solution to this? Will that solve your problem? Or is there a more amicable way of solving the issues? So if it is within the limits and it can be solved within the teacher and the headmasters, it is fair enough. But if something has gone beyond certain limits, then yes, the parents are involved and they are called in and we have a proper procedure in place. But more, we try to work on the values that we instill in them. Thank you so much.
Lovely, ma'am. Great to hear this. Yeah. Pallavi, ma'am, would you like to share?
Yeah, so I think so that it was next problem or
Yeah.
something that I was not audible to you.
Yes.
Hmm. So I'm from Shisha, the English medium school, and in our school, when we have some conflict between them, we have a grievances committee. So the committee members sit together, they hear to the child, those who are fighting or those who are in conflict. Then we go to the solution, and same way as ma'am expressed, when we are able to solve it from our side, even we have a counselor, school counselor, she also comes and joins. So we solve this problem together. And when it is not solved, or sometimes the things are like that it should be discussed with the parents. In such case, we call to the parents also and discuss the things with them.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Great. So there was one more person who had raised hand. I'm not able to recall the name exactly. So if you
Lingaraj
would,
sir had raised their hand.
yeah, if you would like to share, please go ahead and share. Just wait for a few seconds.
Yes, sir. Binay, sir. This is Lingaraj from SRV International School from Rasipuram. Actually, the same situation happened in our school. By the time I met the students, I collected the both problems and what had happened during the classes and everything. And I am trying to solve the problem, but they are not ready to accept my suggestion, even whatever I did. Then I took them and took to the institution head, Miss Shubhalakshmi Bulusu. She is our vice president, and she spoke to the students nicely, and she compromised both, and now it is went on well. Actually, they both are very close friends. Whatever event happened, we discussed to put it in the same team and the same group, and definitely they should coordinate and communicate with each other, no? So by the time they will reduce their issues and everything. But nowadays they both are close friends. Actually, this is what my experience.
Great. Happy to hear this. It's great
Thank
when
you, sir.
conflicts are resolved. Thank you, sir. So like I just want to share what do we do on the field. We use a framework called the conflict resolution framework that we use is called freeze and be calm. Right. So what this means is that because it is self-refereed as a sport, when something goes wrong, it is the responsibility of each person to know the rule and then call out that problem and resolve that. So how we resolve it is through this framework. So when a problem happens, so if a problem happened with you, you make the call. When a call happens, everybody has to first freeze. Right? Everybody just stays in their respective position. They don't go anywhere. So usually what we have seen is conflicts kind of escalate very quickly when all allies come in, like apna bhai hai, like suddenly you want to come and side with somebody in terms of support, and then it just goes out of hand quickly. So the first part is you freeze. The second is breathe. So you breathe before you reacting on it. You first breathe so that you calm down first. And then we give an opportunity for the person who called this foul to explain what they think happened and why is that wrong. And after that explanation is given, then you ask, you give an opportunity for the other person to speak. So if I have a problem with you, I am gonna first explain what went wrong and why is that wrong. And then I'm going to consider your side, where you shall share what you think happened, or what, according to you, what is your perspective in this. And now, if you do not have an alignment right now because there are two different perspectives, this is when you can ask. So this is where the people who have frozen, if on the field, if they have something to say, something that they saw that they want to just inform, they can have their hands raised and their perspective can be asked. So after you ask this, then you listen to all of it. So you listen to what did you say, what did the other person say, what did the perspective of other people who are not involved in this say. And so it's very important for us to understand this part, which basically means it's not just hearing, it's really listening and like processing all the different things that is there. And then you go to the last step, which is you make a decision. What is your decision from this particular conflict? So it's freeze and be calm. So you breathe, then you explain, consider the other side, ask for perspective, listen to all these perspectives, and you make a decision. And on the field of Ultimate Frisbee, conflict resolution has 3 outcomes, which means the first part is if I called a foul and I explain why it is wrong, and then I listen to you, and then I realize, oh, maybe it is not a foul. Maybe it is not like I thought you did this, but that person didn't even know that this happened, or it wasn't intentional at all, and it did not affect the outcome. So I understand and say, okay, then I do not have a problem with you anymore. So I retract. I retract this foul. Therefore, the game will continue from wherever it was. So this is the first situation. And the second part is when I explain to you what went wrong, you hear my perspective and perhaps the perspective of others, and you understand that it was wrong and you accept you made a foul. And if you accept you made a foul, then you make correction. So what does correction in Ultimate Frisbee look like? You think of it, to really simplify it, it would be like this. If this foul did not happen, what would have happened? So for example, if I was going to catch the Frisbee and because somebody hit me or somebody pushed me accidentally, right? I couldn't catch the Frisbee. So if this foul didn't happen, what would have happened? I would have caught the Frisbee, which means I get the Frisbee and I restart playing from there. And the third is the most beautiful part for me, which is called contesting, which is where both of us know we are human. Both of us could have different perspectives, and my truth and your truth might not align, but I still have respect for you. So how do we mutually respect each other and we agree to disagree? Because in Ultimate, we have a rule that in 30 seconds, if you cannot resolve the conflict, you contest it, or you have to resolve conflict and restart game in 45 seconds. So to resolve it in 45 seconds, if you contest it, then what happens is you restart from the time before conflict, which means if I was going for a catch and a contact happened or a call happened on me and we are not able to agree, what happened before this catch? Somebody threw. So at that time, there was no confusion. There was no problem. So let the disc go back to that person and let's restart from there. So this is our conflict resolution framework that ultimate frisbee as a sport itself uses. And what you see at the bottom are the hand signals. So if I made so each of the fouls have a different hand signal, and if I made a foul call and I realize it's not, I can just wave my hand this way. I don't know whether you can see it properly. Maybe the image is better, right? You can retract it. Or if you listen to the other person and you accept it, you can put your palm upwards, which says I accept. And if we don't agree, you contest by kind of giving a fist bump to yourself. So these hand signals also kind of help you play with each other across cultural and language barriers. And also becomes easier for the person who is seeing it to understand what's going on in the game. So I have a question for all of you, right? Can you use this in your learning space? Mansi, can we have a poll up? Like we would like to honestly hear your opinion on this.
The poll is out.
Thank you, Mansi. Thank you. We have about, okay, we're about 50% mark of polling. We cross 50%. We're going to aim for a 60% in another 10 seconds. We have 20 people that have responded. So we're going to wait maybe for another 5 more responses, 4 more. Okay, thank you, Lata ma'am. If you can put it in the poll, that is going to be helpful. It's going to give the last 5 seconds. Yeah, Mansi, I think we can share the results. Thank you. It's great that a lot of you believe that an adaptation of this is possible. I think it's then time for me to leave the webinar. I'm done. And each of you can adapt this in your way because your context is something you know and you're the expert at it, right? So there are a few people who are not sure of it. We can talk more about it in the Q&A part. But there is a small adaptation that I've made for any other learning space, which we'll just walk you through. Right. So in this freeze and be calm, why we do each step is important. And that's what would like to share. So the first part about freezing, right, is that we need to ensure only the people who are involved is part of the conflict resolution. If other people engage, that is where it can snowball. So as an educator, if we can maintain that part first and let the crowd control happen, because that's when a lot of people come together, that whatever feelings that you have can also get amplified very quickly. It can go into a sudden mob situation. So that's our first step, like we do that. And the second is, before we start resolving for conflict, if we can give a moment for them to just calm down, because somebody is hurt. So can they get a little more calmer before we go ahead? And the next 2 parts are so important, because most of the time when a conflict happens and a complaint comes up, even a person knowing that there is somebody ready to listen, or the person who made a mistake is even ready to listen, makes a huge difference. Because like when you're trying to explain your problem and the person is constantly telling you that it is not even a problem, or is trying to attack you every time, it makes you even angrier. So now you have 2 problems. You have a problem that happened with you, and you have a second problem that the person in front of you is not listening. So as an facilitator, facilitator and educator, if you guarantee them that both of you are going to have your chance, but now one person is going to speak and the other person is going to completely listen right now, and give that guarantee that they will have their chance. So the explanation happens, and then the role reversal has to happen, right? And at this point, it has to be made very clear that now you're not going to defend whatever you're hearing. You're going to give the fair chance to the other person. So I have used here X and Y, right? So if X is the person on whom something wrong happened, X has to explain to Y what went wrong and why is that wrong. And Y has to give that space to listen in that explain section. And the reverse is that in the considering part, Y gets to share their perspective, and now X has to listen to Y because Y listened to X in the first place. And now, if you are not sure of what happened, if you have some kind of doubts, this is where you use the space to ask people perspective. This is where you can ask a perspective, or you can say, okay, maybe this is what happened, this is what not happened. So that space is there. And then you give both of these parties a space for them to actually just listen to all these things. Let them process all the perspectives that have come in. And then you go ahead with making a decision, which is the person who raised the complaint can say, okay, after this conversation, I don't feel like it's a problem anymore. Thank you for listening. I can retract. Or the person on whom it was called, which is Y can accept that it's a mistake and apologize. And that apology can be in different ways. Apology could be an action, it could be a statement, it could be anything. And the last part is that both can respectfully agree to disagree. I have put it in red because it's very hard to do that in a space which is other than Ultimate Frisbee, in my opinion, because when you're playing Ultimate Frisbee, there is an added incentive. The incentive is the more the time I'm talking, the more I'm not resolving a conflict, the less time I get to play. In a classroom, that is not going to be the situation. So when you think of that, so that kind of incentivizes for you to have that mutual respect and move on. But inside a classroom, it could be very, very different, because for them, that incentive of agreeing to disagree and understanding it is okay to agree to disagree. We too have perspectives and we respect each other. We don't have to agree to the other perspective, but we can still move ahead. And that's harder. Just before that, like, if you have any thoughts around it, because a lot of people said definitely yes. I was kind of expecting a poll result to say that not sure. So would like to open the space a little bit right now for you to share your thoughts, if you have any of them, around how can this happen inside a classroom so that there can be a knowledge sharing amongst us, so that we can learn from each other. So you can put it in chat, or you can raise your hands and share how could this framework or an adaptation of this framework be used in your learning space. I'm counting on the huge number of people who had voted for yes, definitely yes, to share your thoughts. Right? You can use the chat, or you can feel free to unmute and share your thoughts. And there is absolutely nothing right and wrong about it because it's your space. Yeah, Lata ma'am, please go ahead.
See, the first part is essential part, that is freeze. So where, as you said, the others don't involve. Otherwise, it is usually only the two kids fighting. And in that two, there are 10 more who add on to that. 5 from here and 5 from there.
Right,
so that
allies.
it's a very good thing. It's only restricted to 2 people. The second part, breathe, excellent. When you are angry, then you don't rationalize. but when you allow your mind to calm down before you speak. So that's what we generally do as a leader of the school. When the kids come, full of anger or frustration inside, the first thing we tell them is breathe, relax, just take a few breaths, and then you tell us what your problem is. So that's excellent. Explaining, yes, giving each of them a chance, opportunity to say what they want to say, listen to the other person, and then say. Only the consider part or the ask, because when they are brought to our office, it is only the two of them which are brought, or at sometimes the 4 or 5. So that's exactly what we do. We listen to the two main people first, and then we will ask the opinion of the others around. Okay, you were there around and what you felt happened. And the others also listen to it. The only issue, what I would say, is the M part, where making decision. As you said, here there is no incentive. So that's one thing that we would want to think about more. Yes,
Absolutely.
what will the child gain by accepting that, okay, I don't agree what the other person is saying, but as a colleague or as a peer or as a friend, I would like to respect what that fellow is saying, and we leave it at that, and we mutually agree to this. So that is the toughest part, which I would say as a school leader, where each of us will have to tweak this and see how we can give them an incentive over this. Like, as you said, in the game, on the field, the more time you waste, the less time you get to play. So what is it that we can think about? So this one part is where we would like to think about and like to apply it in our institution. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Hi, Radha, ma'am. You can also please feel free to share.
Yeah, I have two thoughts about this strategy. My first thought is how can one identify the people involved? So in a classroom, when there are fights, you see, people immediately retract, and you cannot really identify who is the culprit. Sometimes that happens, So there is this blame game that's difficult to identify. Who are the ones who are actually involved? That is the first thought. And the second thought is that this strategy probably requires a great deal of practice, and it comes probably from repeated practice. One can implement it better. These are my two thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for sharing. Lata, ma'am, I think as a school leader, you have some thoughts around it. I saw your hands going up. If you would like to respond, feel free to do that.
No. I was trying to lower my hand, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's where it went up again.
I
But
thought
as
you
I
would.
said, as a school leader, yes, I would definitely like to work around this area and, that M part, the make decision part. And I would
Yeah.
definitely love to apply it in our school, because it's a very nice thing and it should help, because our
Yeah.
kids come from the lower socioeconomic strata. So this is very commonly seen in classrooms. So this is a nice framework which we can adopt in our school. Thanks.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. So the part about this is that a lot of this works well on field, and that is what inspires us to work on field here. And we have seen students or young people, when they go through repeated iteration and at some level they normalize this behavior, and they kind of do this automatically in other spaces in life, and that's where the win is. So we also haven't cracked the code of how can it happen inside a classroom. So we operate outside the classroom, and you do the tough part of operating inside the classroom. So I mean, like, it's open to everybody. If you have thoughts, you can just share more. That would help. But sorry, Radha ma'am, I do not have the answer to the first thing that you did share.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, of course. But then, but these are good steps to think about. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
One can begin with these strategies, and then on a case-to-case basis, one can work out better strategies, I suppose.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, and absolutely agree with you, Sublakshmi ma'am, that it's like, one size cannot fit all. Respecting conflict is absolutely fair. And like on field, we say that sometimes people say that, oh, if somebody calls a foul on you, you have to either accept or retract. Contesting means like you are not being fair. But even contesting is fair for me because you both, if you're gonna contest and you continue playing with by giving respect to each other, that is a win for us. It's not about whether you accept or retract. So I agree with what you say, ma'am. And like, yeah, in the classroom space, it can be it can take a very different shape. I'm just gonna put a quick poll up that from listening different things about Ultimate Frisbee, what is one unique thing about Ultimate Frisbee that makes it stand out from other sport in your opinion? So I'm just opening up the poll.
The poll is open.
Thank you, Mansi. And if you think you have more than one also, you can, it's a multiple choice poll. Oh, okay. Whoever polled everything. Okay. Great. Right, we have about 11 responses. We have what, yeah, we are reaching 40%. Gonna wait till we hit 60%. Right, the last 10 seconds. Okay. Great. Last 5 seconds. Yeah, we can close the poll, Mansi. Thank you. Great. So it's lovely that the mixed gendered aspect of it is something that makes it a really unique team sport. And it, like, even different championships that happen, mixed gender division is one of the main divisions in India. That's the main format that is played. The other formats are just coming up now. The competitions for that is just coming up. But for us, when we look at this aspect, one of the most key things is that self-refereeing part, which separates it from every other game. Every other game has a referee or an umpire to say whether it is right or wrong, whether you really know, you have the agency to decide what is right and wrong, and you are not told what is right and wrong. And that process of discovering it is a learning process where we are going to make mistakes, we learn and move ahead. And why is this part about why is self-refereeing and upholding self-refereeing so important? Like, first of all, people are going to engage in this deeply only if it is a safe space for all. If it is not a safe space, they are not going to. So we need something that is going to make it safe for all. We also need to have a platform where there is an opportunity for you to learn and correct the mistakes. You do something wrong, and how do we learn from it? How do we move on from it is important. And because it is self-refereed, nobody should be taking an unfair advantage of the rule and just doing what they think is right. And how this kind of what needs to be done, or how this kind of comes into action, is that there needs to be a space where people can respectfully communicate with each other, even if the tension is high. And when the right thing is done, so it might be right thing here is not what is the most favorable thing for your team, but what is the right thing to do. You dropped a catch and you accepting it's a dropped catch. That means the other team is getting the disc, but that's still the right thing to do. So how do you recognize and appreciate that? And how does every person have a voice, and that voice is given equal weightage? It's not like a lesser voice and a bigger voice. And whatever conflict that happens on field, because there is this part about contest, right? It is easy for us to fall into that thing of, oh, I'm not going to listen to you, you're not going to listen to me, and my time is now over, and now game has to restart, so let's just contest. So that is an unresolved conflict, right? Like, so that also has to get resolved. Otherwise, it is again going to go back into this is not a space for all. It's not a safe space for all. Somebody is just steamrolling their way through. And when we address these aspects, this is how it kind of comes into actions. So in this game of Ultimate Frisbee, we have one option is called Spirit Timeout, which means that in a game, there are usually a spirit captain. So just like the captain of the team, the spirit captain is the communication channel with the other team to say, okay, there are certain players who are doing it this way. Can you have a conversation with them within your team? And so that they can course correct even during the game. And if you do not correct that, there is a mechanism inside the game, right in the middle of the game. You can stop the game. Both the teams can come together, have a conversation, look at what is the way they can play better in the right spirit and go back. And it's called a spirit timeout. Just like strategic timeout, there's a spirit timeout to talk about the behavior and then play. And for you, when you are playing the game, like after that, we have a spirit circle, right? And in this circle, teams kind of pick who was the most spirited player of the other team, and you give them that award. And that can be just saying that, hey, you are the most spirited player because you did these things right. Really helps. And after each game in a tournament, you kind of rate the other team on what is their spirit. And it's not just like a random number. There are 5 matrices, and there's a rubric for it. So it is rules, knowledge, and use, avoiding fouls and body contact, positive attitude and self-control, fair-mindedness, and communication. And there is a clear rubric on what does a 1 on this communication mean, what does a 3 on avoiding fouls and body contact mean. So you can rate the other team, how spirited did they play on a number basis. Similarly, you can rate yourself, and you submit this score along with the score of the match, and the organizers kind of pull through, make a data analysis at the end of it, and choose who are the most spirited team, and they get an award. And the way that award is given is also something which is noticeable. It's that at the World Championship, you will see the runners up being called up, the champions being called up, and then the Spirit Award being called up, which kind of shows how spirit is the highest award that you can get in the sport. And to ensure all this happen, there is a spirit circle. The spirit circle are fundamental to this. When you know after a game also, you are going to deal with the other players. You're still going to have an interaction. You're going to have a high five. You're going to sit with them in a circle and have a conversation. That changes the way you play. So it is a circle where everybody faces each other. And also, like, it happens after every session. It happens after a local park game or even at the World Championship. And this becomes a space for us to solve more things. And it has 5 key things that we work on during the spirit circle. So the first part is a reflection, where you just process what all happened. Just do a recap of the whole session that went by, whole game that went by. And then you use the next part as a space for you to learn and unlearn. So if you did not know a particular rule at a particular time, because the rule book is also expansive, a particular situation happened, you didn't know what to do, or you did the wrong thing, this becomes the space to learn, which means you unlearn the wrong rule and you learn the right thing by having a conversation in the circle where everybody has a voice. So if somebody was sitting outside and saw this, they can flag it at this point. They can even go talk earlier, but this is again one more space that they have. And the next part is conflict resolution here. So what does conflict resolution here look like? Here, the main part is about not who did wrong. It's going to be about what do we do better next time. And that is conflict resolution. So if the way we communicated with each other and which resulted in a contested call, how do I learn to do this better? How do I resolve this better so that the next time we are going to have an even better game and play with even more heart. So that's the larger principle we work with. And all these things have to be stemmed in respectful communication, that even if you have a problem with another person, another player, another teammate, or an opponent, the moment we do not have respect in that communication, we have already lost the audience. So irrespective of how difficult it is, how do you practice that helps you in the other spaces that you go in life. And finally, we end the spirit circle with an appreciation where anybody can appreciate anybody else for any small action. And as facilitators, we try to focus a lot on the spirit of the game thing, rather than we appreciating that, oh, you had a great pass and you had a great score, or your defense was great. We look at instances where when your teammate was feeling low, how did you respond as a teammate? When you got frustrated because of a mistake, how did you take that frustration out? When there was a conflict, how did you resolve that call at that point? And repeated cycles of these spirit circles with young people, where we create a space for reflection, learning, resolving conflict through respectful communication, and ending with appreciating each other, so that people leave with a clean slate. That is what helps us to bring our playbook to life and repeat the cycles again and again. And yeah, I mean, that's what I have today from our side. So I'm now open for all questions from your end. I can see one question. So the target age group that we work with at WiUltimate is 9 and upwards. So 9 to 17 is our school program. It's 10 to 20 is our community program usually. And post 17, or some people even join earlier at the age of 13, 14 into the competitive club team training. So largely our audience is about our people are from age 9 to 24. So, I mean, and thank you everybody for, being very engaging, sharing your thoughts, giving your poll comments. So like extremely grateful for just having this space, listening through this, because this is an idea that has been a huge passion and something that we have been working on for a long time. And having a space to speak with educators and just share about this is great. So thank you for being part of it. Thanks a lot.
Benoit, thank you so much for conducting this space for us. I think it was such a fantastic session to attend and to learn more about this sport. I think we can take away a lot as educators from the sport and from the practices that you follow in this sport. And folks, like Benoit said, thank you for being such an engaging audience. We do have some space now for question answers, so feel free to come off mute and ask as well. Benoit, there's one question from Lata ma'am, who has asked, do you conduct the game for schools in Mumbai?
Yeah, we do not have a direct intervention in Mumbai right now, but that's something we are right now exploring, ma'am. So I can share my email ID and we can connect more if you are interested, and we can look at what could work. So our current operations is largely in Delhi. So in Delhi, if any of you would like to come see what we do, if you would like to do anything in Delhi, we can readily jump on it. But in other spaces, it will take a little more time. But we are very much happy to do it.
I think
Yes.
Radha ma'am has raised. Go for it, Radha ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to thank Benoit for this wonderful session. It was quite informative, and this is a very unique initiative. So I think today I've not only learned about a new sport, but also learned a new strategy of conflict resolution. And it was very inspiring, especially the stories that he shared with us, and more power to people like him. Thank you, Binoy.
Thank you, ma'am.